everybody, and welcome again to another interesting episode of the Modern Farming Podcast, where we bring together agriculture, innovation, education, and outreach. I'm your host today, Chris Weary, and with me I have my co-host, Brad Turner. Good morning, Brad.
Hey, how you doing, Chris?
I'm doing good. And today we have a really great guest. I'm excited, Brad, that we have Mr. Steve Johnson, who's a citrus and cattle producer here in Florida, and a good friend of the Green Genes Foundation, who is the supporter or the producer of this podcast. So excited to hear from Steve and his stories about his life in agriculture. Good morning, Steve.
Morning. How are y'all guys doing?
Great.
So, Steve, tell us just a little bit about yourself, where you're located, and the different things that you do out there with your farming business.
Yeah, so really we're located dead center of the state, Wauchula, Florida. So it's Hardee County. That's one of those square counties you see on the map in the middle. But we do citrus and cattle. Also have a harvesting company where we harvest several different crops and provide labor utilizing the H2A program for several of the farmers, not only ourselves, but other farmers. Buy and sell a little bit of produce and fruit back and forth. Calf operation is located in about 4 different counties. As far as the harvesting goes, we go all the way up to Hastings, all the way back down to Immokalee, and from coast to coast. We also have a trucking company that kind of complements all that stuff to go along with it. Some of the other things I do within the industry is serve as vice president of Florida Farm Bureau. And then also I serve as the chairman of the Florida Citrus Commission, which is appointed by the Senate and the governor. So a lot of different hats. And so that's kind of me. And that's, I'm a fourth generation doing this. My wife is actually a fifth generation cattle person. And then we've got 3 kids. So hopefully they'll be the fifth and the sixth generation coming behind us to take over.
Excellent. So I guess we could start maybe with citrus. That's been a pretty hot topic in Florida, or not hot topic in Florida, I guess. How's citrus going with you guys with the incoming greening and natural disasters that have hurt Florida citrus in general?
So citrus is it is kind of a hot topic right now because everybody's pushing up grove and burning it. So I mean, we got to make jokes about it because it is not fun right now. But it is concerning because between disease, pressure, natural disasters, hurricanes, freezes, and even land prices have forced a lot of us into other options or other areas. Just real quick, if you think about it, the average age of the farmer is 58.1 years old. So when somebody comes along and offers a lot of money and he's frustrated, hence that's what happens. You see a lot of 5-acre lots with mobile homes popping up because where old citrus groves were. There are some positive, though, happening with citrus with some new varieties and just matching them up with the right rootstock and trying to make sure everything is growing. This last legislative session, we got $100 million to put into the CRAFT program, which is where we can growers can apply to help new plantings, replanting, and a lot of that money is paid right up front so they can get rolling with it. There's a 7-year commitment to that where they have to keep all these records and tell how their production's doing, what varieties they did, how they took care of it. So it's a little bit of intrusiveness, but also just we're hoping to find some good knowledge out of it to help other growers. Also, we got the block grant from Secretary Rollins. Still trying to figure out how that's going to play into citrus because it was for a lot of other crops too. But if we can get that money in growers' hands, I feel like you'll see a big. I don't know that we'll ever get back to the 250 million box mark that we had in the 90s, but I do think that you'll see us get back to the 15 million box mark, which is where we need to be in order to keep the infrastructure that we have.
Yeah, no, it's got to go up. Yeah, I was just recently at the expo that just happened, and it was good. There was a lot less growers there, but the talks that were given, and there's some hope. I mean, I think they're going to come up with some crisper stuff. I think they're close. It takes so much time. It just takes years to come up with whether it's GMO or CRISPR or whatever it is. It just takes so long. Some of these growers just can't wait.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I think what you're seeing is who's left in the market is who's left, and these are the guys that are dedicated to it. And I'll be honest, we probably only have 30% of the groves left that we own anymore, and we just basically concentrated on the best blocks possible and said, hey, let's get the best we can get out of these. And as these new technologies come out, we'll plant some other stuff back. But right now, we're just trying to focus on what we got.
Trying to hold on.
That's right.
Yeah. So personally, how does that reshape the way you manage your groves? All this new ways of doing things, or whatever.
So it's interesting. Obviously, we need less employees, so that kind of changes things. And us having a harvesting company and utilizing the H2A, we're used to we needed them for 8-9 months. Now we only need them for 6 months.
Right.
So that creates a little bit of a logistics nightmare in one sense. The other problem we're having too with that is you have the citrus plants run efficiently. And so that's a little bit of a juggling act. So it affects everything management wise. Used to growing up, I remember Dad always said, hey, if we get everything sprayed and mowed, we'll go to the lake for the rest of the summer. So man, we 14, 16-hour days trying to get all that done. And so we go to the lake. And now it's, oh no, we got to spray, we got to mow, we got to herbicide, we got to look at this, we got to check the irrigation, we got to inject fertilize. So it has really changed the dynamics from 40 years ago when I was growing up to now.
Yeah. You mentioned the plants. How many acres do we have to maintain to keep 1 or 2 or 3 juice plants open? I mean, I know fresh fruits, that can open and close, but what about the juice market?
So the juice market, it's public knowledge. Tropicana's decided not to run fruit next year.
Right.
So that really leaves, Peace River and Arcadia. That leaves Catrali and Auburndale, Florida's Natural, and then some little bitty, what I call home juice plants scattered around. But to answer your question, acreage wise, I'm not really sure what that answer is. But my head, I say
down to boxes.
Well, we got to have 15 million boxes. Now, however we get that, in today's world, but there, on the flip side of that, there is a lot of young stuff coming online, younger stuff. And I say coming online because it's starting to pick it now. And that may change those dynamics a little bit, but we got to have a year without hurricanes. So
yeah, and hopefully no freezes.
That's correct.
We don't think about that as much as we used to.
Yeah, and that happened in the 80s. History repeats itself. We could get it back. I mean, I'm not hoping not, but we have to keep that in our mind.
So with saying that, are you using some new technologies and innovations to try and help offset some of these challenges? Is there something you touched on, new rootstocks, right? I think a lot of people in citrus know they're trying to develop a rootstock that resists screening. That's a huge one. But is there anything else that you're using to try and help prop up your groves?
I mean, we've got new chemicals that have come on board and new ways to apply those chemicals, and we're doing some of that stuff. But I'll tell you the best thing we've learned is that we kind of went back to old school stuff. To be honest with you, our mineral package. Sorry, I think of cows. Our micronutrient package in our sprays and even our fertilizer. Some of us have kind of gotten away from adding those micronutrients back in our fertilizer. And I think we've kind of forgot about those micronutrients. So a lot of us have pulled out the old, textbooks I had from college and said, let me reread this for a minute. And to me, that's gone a lot longer ways than some other stuff that we've done.
Yeah. Yeah. But
that's right up your alley, right? That's your
I mean, we know that, things don't flow through the tree with greening like they used to. And so things we got to have more of it or be in a different form or something. It's just matter of getting that stuff moving through the plant.
Well, and I explain greening to a lot of folks. It's like a heart disease when your arteries get clogged, and that stuff can't. If you don't get blood to your brain, you can't think. Yeah, you can't get blood to your foot. It's not going to work. So that's kind of how I've related it to a lot of folks. And then once you say that, they're kind of like, "Oh, well, that makes sense." I said, "Yeah." So now we got to figure out how to get it through there. Get us some blood thinners for greening.
Yeah, exactly. There was some discussions about that at the expo. Related it to Elmer's glue, the compounds that are in there.
That's exactly right.
What about the cattle? I've never even talked to you about your cattle operation. I know you it was from your wife's family.
So,
Cattle
well, we've always had a little bit of cattle
Mhm.
on what I call the Johnson side, but we really didn't expand that until that was probably 2001 or two. That I saw an opportunity to take that, so we did that. And then my wife bought it. Her dad, 2018. Yeah, 2018. So, and so we run a cow calf operation. We are on a breeding season where we try to do it in truckloads. We got like most of my cows, because if I talk about my wife's, I got to make sure I tell you it's hers.
Mhm.
What's hers?
You
Hers.
can see this.
But anyway, so ours is a lot of black cattle, just F1 Brangus cross,
Mhm.
and then she's got a lot of old. I call them, they're not exactly cracker cattle, but they're more woods cows. See a lot of Brammer in them, a lot of tiger stripes. And so we really have two different groups of cows, which is interesting because it's interesting to watch the market. Black and white always pays more than the red
Sure.
and the other. So, and we're on a lot of reclaimed phosphate land. And so
Mhm.
how you manage cattle on that is totally different than grass patches.
Yep.
We feed different molasses. We feed different mineral packages. It's a whole different ball of wax.
Teach them to eat Kogan grass, right? Mow it and burn it, and
You burn it and you feed the right molasses, they will eat it. But otherwise,
Yeah.
they're not going
there
to.
is some nutrition there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you one thing that we're doing is we figured out with Kogan grass that if we change the pH, the growth of Kogan grass slows down. So if you can get that pH, which is hard to get it to 5.5, 6, the Bahia will actually overtake the Kogan grass. But I mean, it takes a lot to get it there. But we are experimenting with that and seeing that.
Very interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, because Kogan's a tough one.
It is.
We got it.
If you see it popping up in a pasture that's not reclaimed phosphate land or something, if you'll go to that area, you'll notice it's a sandy area. It's not it wasn't good grass there to begin with. So it's been interesting once we kind of got onto that. But now, like I said, it's very expensive to convert that land from a 3, to 5.5, 6 pH. That's tough.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it usually is soil related, weeds and everything, whether it's pH or whether it's a certain mineral availability or unavailability. I mean, I'm into all that testing, but we see that a lot. It's usually a variable in pH a lot of times. But I had not heard that about the Kogan grass. I'll remember that.
Well, and my daughter did a science fair project on it, and so that's
cool.
Kind of what got me started on it. And of course, we had been playing with it, trying to figure things out because it's high in protein if it's low, but keeping it low is extreme. And then what happens during the wintertime is it won't grow, and then the cows are starving to death because it ain't. So it's like, man, you're either feast or famine here. How do you do this? So we've had to learn some things.
Well, I think just before we talk about something else, this idea that you've got here, and it shouldn't be lost to the audience, you've got a diverse agricultural setup with the cattle and the citrus. So I think that's a great model for folks who are interested in starting out to see what you've done, because citrus is down right now, but you're working the cattle, so that's a really great lesson to tell people, and I'm sure it's a lot of work.
And my granddad said I remember the little boy, and my dad said it too. We got to diversify. We got to diversify. We got to diversify. And we always tried to figure out, do we own an auto parts store? Do we,
right?
Do we start a restaurant or something? But we always came back to, well, we don't know anything about that, so we got to go with what we know. So, and that's kind of what got me in the labor business. Is I knew labor, I knew equipment, knew how to get stuff done, and so that's kind of how, because we weren't always in the labor business. That's something I started when I come back to work for the family and took over. So that was, and my dad didn't want to do the harvesting business. He thought that was crazy.
So good segue into the labor piece, Steve. So clearly you're big into the labor business. You've been part of the Farm Bureau Federation labor committee type work.
Right.
So let's talk about that for a little bit and that piece of your work.
Yeah. So the labor deal is very interesting. We utilize the H-2A program where we go to Mexico and we recruit and bring them over. We've actually tried to deal with Paraguay. That didn't work out. So we've always done Mexico. but you can't find labor anywhere. And not to get into the weeds too much on H2A, but you have to advertise when you do H2A to see if you can't make sure you can't find locals. The problem with that is we don't get anybody, and so I'm not sure the American workforce understands that and understands that this is still general hard labor. Yeah. And it's not cheap. H2A program is expensive. There's no joke about that. But that's the only thing we have. In my involvement with Farm Bureau, whether it was at AFBF or Florida Farm Bureau, we've been working on, labor reform for 20 plus years, and we're not any closer today than we were yesterday. So it's very frustrating from that aspect. And you'll get an administration that kind of understands labor or wants to do something with labor, but it is a hot topic and nobody wants to touch it. That's what it boils down to. And the deal with the H2A program, really, to be honest with you, it just needs some little tweaks and it'd be great. But when your minimum wage is $16.23 an hour and you're providing housing for free, you're transporting them for free, you don't have cooking facilities and you're having to cook for them or provide 3 meals a day for free. I mean, basically, I might as well have a babysitting service. So
makes me want to go pick oranges.
And you don't take out taxes on these guys. I mean, they're supposed to pay income taxes. I'm not sure they do, but they, that's an issue.
So what would be one thing? What would be the main thing you'd like to see changed to help support farmers and ranchers with that?
So really, the minimum wage. If we could figure out how to do that, and I think these guys need to have skin in the game. I pay for their visas, I pay for the transportation from their hometown and back to their hometown. So I feel like if let's just cap the minimum wage at $15 an hour, okay? Because Florida's minimum wage is going to be $15 in 2026.
Right.
You put it at $15, they got to pay $20 a week in rent. They got to pay for their visa. I can make all of that work. Okay. But when you get $16.23 and they're not got any skin in the game, and that makes it tough. And yes, they're here on a contract, and yes, they have to work for me, but I have to guarantee them 38 hours a week the whole time they're here. So that gets touchy.
So you think alleviate
15 times 38, right? You've got to get that.
That's right.
So you think if you could even alleviate a little bit of the fringe stuff around it, like paying for visas and room and board and all that, that would help tremendously to reduce the stress on the growers and the ranchers.
Well, and here's just a great example. So when these guys, when I bring them over, I've got $800 a person in them.
Right.
So for easy math, we bring in 300 people. That's $240,000 we've spent, and we ain't done nothing. We ain't went to work. So that's the downside. So
understood. That gets passed on somewhere. I mean, it's
and I feel bad, but yes, you're right. I'm not going to work for free. If I'm going to do that, I go to Vegas and have a lot more fun.
Exactly.
Right. It has to all work, right? And in the end, that makes the consumer pay more for their groceries, right? For their fruit and for their beef. That's tough. Right. It's the only way it can go, right? Nobody's in business to lose money.
No.
You can't do it, right? Well, that is a tough one. And you hear it, you turn on the news, you hear stuff like that all the time, and it's just it's just hard to solve, right? So I commend you for trying to, make things better and work on that.
And here's one of the misconceptions about some of these guys too that I think is important. A lot of people say, well, they just want to come over here and get legal. They really don't. Like if you talk to these guys, they're just happy to make that money. I mean, they're making $800 a week. They go home, they live like kings for 3 months, and then they come back. Now, granted, they're with their family. I get that. But they're appreciative of the job. I mean, if you asked, I'm willing to bet 75% of them, they're just thankful to be here.
Right.
And we have about an 80% retention rate that comes back every year. So, to me, that just proves that these guys understand the program and appreciate the program and appreciate the process. So,
and I think that needs to be, you always hear the downside, right? The 20% that aren't serious or mischief or whatever you want to call it. But you're right. There's a lot of people that work in the system and work well and work legally and do it right and want to, right? And it's these other pieces that are screwing everything up, and that's what you hear about. And it's unfortunate because there's a lot of things done the right way too, and people don't realize that sometimes.
Well, bad press spreads quicker than anything else.
Yeah,
that's
always.
It's been that way for 100 years, and it's going to continue to be that way probably.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. So you want to switch topics to fishing? Because I want to hear all about your fishing hobbies. I'm excited.
So yeah, so I grew up with my dad and my granddad mullet fishing on Fridays. I mean, it didn't matter if it was rain, snowing, world was falling apart, we went mullet fishing. So that's kind of probably where I got kind of hooked. But whether it's for and I'm spoiled because freshwater, like in front of our house, we have a reclaimed lake that we have leased, and you can go walk around that lake any afternoon and catch 7, 8 bass that are weighing 4 to 6 pounds. And so it's spoiled. I mean, my son is really spoiled because I'm like, he's grown up with it. I'm like, dude, you have no idea what it's like to really fish.
That's right.
But I have a boat that I really love to go backcountry fishing. Redfish, snook, trout. That's kind of like my deal. And I have a house on Key Acosta that I'm partners with, a fishing shack down there. Don't stay there as much as I'd like, but so that's kind of what my fishing deal is. So it's kind of my forgiveness of everything. I forget about everything when I get down there and start fishing. So
yeah. So when you were mullet fishing, was that gill netting or cast netting or gigging? What were you?
Yes, it was cast netting. When you throw the cast net, stick your finger in the mouth, break their neck, and then my job was to come behind and pick up all the stringers they'd hung in the trees everywhere and then take them back to the boat. So yeah, I was in shape, but
gotcha. But that's how you fed the family back then. I mean,
it is, and so it's funny. My mom used to make some of the cast nets, so they'd be hanging in the living room, and she'd start tying them while she was watching TV and doing stuff. And I've still got one of those left, actually, in my barn.
Save it.
Oh yeah, no, I wish that I regret that I never learned how to tie those, because even repairing them is a challenge. So,
yeah.
But
it's funny. Some people won't eat a mullet, and my wife and I would rather eat a smoked mullet than probably anything else in this world if it's done right.
If it's done right, you're right. And we used to go all over the place. I mean, we'd go down to Boca Grande, we'd go to Cockroach Bay. It was all over the place. So.
Well, I live in a town, Mims, Florida, and our annual event is the Mullet Fest. And our mascot is a mullet wearing a mullet, if you can believe that. Y'all have to check that out. I don't know if they do it anymore. They've done it. They did it for quite a few years, but you get smoked mullet, fried mullet, you get anything at the Mullet Fest. So,
well, and my granddad would come back and have fish fries with those mullet, and then he would take that money, and that's what he's built, actually, the Bowling Green Medical Center, as we call it, for the community. And then he built a camp meeting ground that now is actually a drug rehab. So that's what he did with the fish. It was kind of interesting. Fridays, that's what we did, and then Saturdays we had fish fries. So
that's awesome.
It was a cool experience growing up. Cool experience.
I know our lead guy here at Green Gene, Matt. He loves fish, so he's big into, I don't know if it's fishing, but fish as a meal, fish as a sustainable food source. So he would love, I'm sure, to have some fish fries with you guys.
Yeah. Well, and now I catch mullet just to use them as bait for snook and redfish. So
yeah, well, they do. We're good there too.
I still eat the big ones.
I agree with that. Yeah, because they're too big to cut up. So yeah,
that's funny. So you use that as an escape. You mentioned that you work hard and you play hard with the fish. So is that been an institution in your businesses that you blend this kind of recreation?
It is, and we were actually taught that as a very young age, that if you work hard, you deserve to play hard. But if you don't work hard, you don't deserve to play. and that was whether we were playing sports or whether we were working in the groves or in the pasture, whatever. That was like what was ingrained in my brain. Is that if you work hard, then you deserve it. If not, well, then sit at the house.
And fishing and hunting aren't cheap hobbies,
No. No.
You could buy a lot of fish and meat for what you and I spend on hunting and fishing.
Well, just when I put in
It's
gas,
not about
I'd be a lot cheaper to go to Publix. So
I'd say that about boats. Just don't even own a boat. You should go with a guide every other month or once a month and save a bunch of money.
you would,
Yeah.
you would.
Yeah.
But it's the convenience factor. So
I'm looking at a boat right now in my backyard, and I gotta have it.
What do they say? It's always the happiest day and the saddest day when you sell a boat.
Yeah,
I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
yeah,
That's
for
fun.
sure.
Outstanding. So go ahead, Brad.
No, I was just gonna jump right in to tell us a little bit of stuff about Farm Bureau and what's going on.
Yeah. So some exciting news. So I did get the board nomination selected for president. So that election will happen in October. That's the bylaws state that the state board has to nominate somebody 60 days before convention. I was fortunate enough to get that nomination, so I'm looking forward to that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, Matt told me that yesterday. Great, it's great.
So I've been out visiting counties. To visit 60 county farm bureaus in roughly 60 days is tough.
Yeah.
So I've made it to 7 so far, but in a week. So I'm doing pretty good. But it's it's going to be tough, and everybody's schedule is crazy. But anyway, so farm bureaus, I think, in a good position. We do have some things that are going to be challenging coming up. Right now with Ben in the Senate, Wilton as commissioner, we're kind of in the catbird seat. But that all has a way of changing, and we don't know what our next governor is going to look like. So we've got to work hard to put some things in place and keep some things there and keep some relationships in place. And I think that's the most important that we got to focus on. We've got to focus on our membership. The reason we have a voice like we do is because we have 130,000 members.
Yep.
I don't think there's no reason we can't be at 150,000.
Right.
I think that's something we got to work on. I told a group this morning I was talking to that, when's the last time you asked your neighbor if they were a member? And when they asked, well, why would I be a member? I said, you got to be prepared to answer that. You like to eat, you like the clothes you wear, you need to think longer. So here's where we need to be. And here's why you support these guys. It's the cheapest $50 you'll ever spend for the amount of information you get, for the amount of representation you get.
Support,
support. And it goes on up the food chain, the American Farm Bureau and everything else that we've got. So long story short, food security is national security. Yep. If we can't grow our own food and we can't continue to have our own way of producing food, we're going to be a third world country. And so food security is national security. And I think that's what we've got to focus on. But we also need the consumers to understand the economic impact of farmers and what we provide to the community, whether it's jobs or whether it's the money we put back in, the buying of equipment and buying at parts stores, tire stores, whatever that may be. It's a trickle down effect. So I think that's important for them to remember and realize and think about as we go forward. Yeah. The other thing I like to tell people that don't understand ag is, look, if we don't take care of the land, it's not going to take care of us. And so we're not out there abusing it. And if you look at the amount of phosphorus we've reduced in the Everglades, and you look at the amount of water usage we've decreased in the springs up in the north part of Florida, that is huge. And we're still able to produce crops. So we as farmers, we're very innovative and we're trying to do our best. And I think that's where Farm Bureau plays that role and can get out there. I kind of went off on a tangent on that one, but
absolutely right.
Just telling you where my heart is on that.
No. Farmers were the first conservationists. I mean, they don't want to spend any more money on fertilizer than they have to. I mean, we don't like it. If there were no ag in Florida, this state would be done.
That's a lot of states, right? I mean, look at the whole Midwest, California, a lot of places, ag was it, right? They grew up and built themselves on that. And it's a shame to see it, start fading away, and we want to keep it going.
Yeah. So anyway, that's Farm Bureau. I think they're in a good spot, but I think that obviously we can always be better. So,
well, we're pulling for you.
Well, I appreciate that. Appreciate it a lot.
Yeah.
So personally, you're moving up the ranks, hopefully. So what do you take from where you start out locally in Hardee County all the way up through your state and national level? What are your thoughts of when you started small and where you are now?
So I remember my field man, Andy Newhofer, came to me and wanted me to join Young Farmer Ranchers. I thought, okay, I'll go to a meeting. We'll see what happens. And so that's kind of how we got started. We did the YFNR leadership program, and of course, our worked at YFNR in our local county and got on the county board. But I think for me, the biggest thing was I saw the benefits of it, but I also saw the likeness of people, like-minded, morally, and just it's like, okay, these are the people that are salt of the earth, people you want to be around, people that you want to make relationships with. And so that just kind of drove me. And then as I got involved on the state board and realized what all they do, legislative stuff behind the scenes and just trying to get things done and protect the farmers and protect the environment. I was like, well, this is what I want to do. And it's easy to think about what's happening now, but you really have to think about what's happening 10, 20 years down the road. And what I mean by that is a lot of the changes that I try to accomplish today, I may never see the benefit of it.
Right.
But my kids will. And that's what's important. If we want generational farming and we want generations to understand what's going on, we've got to start working now to change it for the next generation. And so that's what I, kind of got my focus on was whatever I make changes today may not affect me, but it will affect the next generation.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
so what are your kids, what are their interests? Which directions are they wanting to go?
Yeah, so my oldest is 20, and he's my son, and he's at the University of Florida. He started this week, getting a degree in ag. He wants to come back and work here, and he's kind of a little aggravated with me because I told him he needed to go work somewhere else for 5 years before he came back. And,
yep.
He's a little aggravated about that. He's like, why would you do that, Dad? And I said, well, it's a great experience.
You told him 5 years?
Yep. I said, 5 years, you're still in your head. Yeah. So he's doing good. Then my middle child, she's a senior in high school, and she wants to do interior design. So that's kind of interesting. She plays golf for the golf team here. And then I have an 8th grader, the surprise child. And so she's very involved. They all do animal projects, but she's actually currently the president of her junior high FFA program.
Wow.
And does prepared speaking. So
nice.
So they're involved with ag and they understand it. They and my son just got his American farmer degree, so through FFA. So he did get that done.
Good. Cool. Y'all live on the cattle side or near the groves, or where do you raise the kids?
So we live in a grove, but across the road is the pasture. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. And we're fortunate to have that where they can go over there. They can ride the Polaris's 4-wheelers, run around, holler, scream, and not a whole lot of people don't say anything except for my sister because she's the closest neighbor. So, but then I can also hear her screaming, so it's okay. So,
yeah. No, I grew up that way too, and that's it's hard to imagine being a city kid when you were raised that way.
Well,
it's a great way to be now, but
I think it's been the biggest adjustment for my son in Gainesville. He's like, Dad,
I'm sure.
I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, it's different, son. So,
yeah.
Have you you have any good stories about with your children and family, doing things on the farm and ranch that really that you really have fond memory of? Something that's really cool.
Probably the some of the coolest stuff has been through Farm Bureau. When CARES came out and did a video, and the kids were there, and they were younger at that time, and so they were kind of like, well, Dad, we're on camera. And so that was kind of a cool experience. Probably the coolest, though, was when my son was in kindergarten. Tropicana asked us to do some commercials. And so we were like, yeah, sure, whatever. Well, they came out the grove. They did a video. Whatever, no big deal. And then all of a sudden, they wanted us to go to California.
Oh.
So me and my son actually got to go to California and do real-time commercials, like with production and all this. And he was 6 years old at the time. They loved him. He had glasses at the time. And anyway, so he actually ended up getting, royalties off the commercials. And so that's really what paid for his college.
Wow.
So
that's great.
So that was kind of a cool story that we had no idea. any of that. And I was hesitant on even taking him because it was during the school year. And the company out there that wanted us to come out there said, no, we'll provide a teacher. We'll contact his school. We'll get his schoolwork. And sure enough, we got out there. They had a teacher that helped him with his schoolwork while we were there. I mean, it was the coolest experience.
So I'm a little bit interested because of how diversified you are. My wife and I, and a lot of folks out there do a lot of, try a lot of different things, right? There's people like that. What is something that drives a decision? I'm sure you've had more than what you do come across your desk of opportunities. So what do you look for in something to say, yeah, I'm gonna give that a shot, or that's probably not the best thing. What would drive that?
So I have a real estate license, so I do real estate too. And so you meet a lot of people that they're intriguing and have ideas, and you see a lot of these people that try crazy things and it doesn't work, and you see them try things that do work. So the way I do it is I kind of think about, well, why'd that guy fail? Why'd this guy succeed? And I try to mash the two together. When you see opportunities like that. The other thing that we have learned in our business is that how do we cut cost? So for example, we buy fuel from the port, or we have a tire distributorship so that we don't pay full market price. And those kind of things have helped us, not only diversification, but helped us be at a better buying point, and take economy turns a little better. And we look for opportunities. We just truly look for opportunities, whether it's, hey, that house is for sale, maybe we can turn it into a rental house, just to make sure that we have diversification options.
That's amazing. So a lot of people don't think of, farmers or agriculture as savvy businessmen, but sometimes you're the most savvy of all, because you're up against these things you can't control, right? And so you really have to, put your thinking hat on.
Well, and here's what I'll tell you too, that a lot of the consumers and general public understand, a farmer has to make a decision quick sometimes. Mm-hmm. You pull out of the field and you see a disease. You don't get time to say, well, let me use this chemical. It's a little cheaper. Or let me think about this, or maybe I'll wait a week. You don't have that choice.
Right.
And so we're making decisions on the fly. And I think that does help with your diversification, because you're willing to, think about things a little quicker and pull the trigger on it. Then on the flip side of that, sometimes that gets us in trouble. So,
that's true.
I'm sure you're glad to be in the cow business this day and time. Of course, I'm out. That's a story of my life.
So I would work too.
That is true.
Timing's everything.
100%.
And you need that. Citrus is down, and now luckily cattle's up, and that's what it's all about.
Well, I joke with people sometimes. I'm like, a normal person wouldn't do what we do, because they look at the risk and say, "What, are you crazy?" But it's not. I mean, it's not the money at the end of the day. It's the way of life. It's the experiences. Yeah. It's the fun stuff. There is times like with your kids, being on the farm and getting to kind of mess around and do things you wouldn't normally get to do. Those kind of things.
No, sure. It is a way of life. It's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. Yep. So let's talk a little bit about your lifestyle, your faith and community. So you're a deacon at your church. Mm-hmm. How does that play into the way you do business in agriculture?
So it's interesting. Your faith in business is your faith in faith is kind of like faith in business. You got to believe, and so that that it takes a lot of faith to do anything. Excuse me, but in the church, I think it's interesting because there's politics in the church just like there is in life, and so you got to learn how to disseminate the two, and what you're there for. What's the purpose of you being there? Purpose is to worship and grow your faith, and so I think that church is a lot like life. You got to figure out what's important to you, and you got to go after that. And so when you go to church, you're there to do that. Now, there's business you have to do as being a deacon or being chairman of the personnel or whatever to take care of the business. But I think it's important to realize what you're there for and what the ultimate goal is.
Mm-hmm.
And that plays right into your business, right? How do you run your business? How do you deal with the politics of business and the business of business? same way, same story, right?
Well,
And
and,
right.
you know, and really, if it wasn't for my faith, I don't know that I could have my business
Right.
because there's days that you will get depressed. There's days you'll get down.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, what the heck's going on? And most of the time it's because you haven't been paying attention to something else. But
Right.
that's, you know, so I think that is important. You got to have something to lean back on when things are times are tough.
Absolutely. I always say to my wife, if we've had a bad day with, whatever we're up to, is that, we're going to have a good day, up the road, we're going to have a good day, and we're going to think back about this and think about how frustrated we were and think of how great it is when you have a success. And that's really how faith really works, right?
Oh, it is.
When you get through the hard parts. So that's cool. That's important.
Well, if it was easy, everybody would do it. That's what I tell them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
You'd have to pay to do it.
That's right.
Like they'd charge you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But faith will always get you through. I mean, it will be provided some way, somehow.
Yeah. And that's, when you can get to that point and realize that, okay, I'm not really in control.
Right.
That's who's in control, and I got to respect that. Then you can get a lot accomplished.
Yeah.
Yep. That's cool. Go back to our friend Matt that we all know. He says that a lot in his business workings is, I didn't know this was going to happen, but it did. And that's 100% faith. Right. And having the courage to follow that a little bit, right. Without a guaranteed success. That's the people in business that win,
Very true.
Yeah. He bit off a chunk with the Green Gene Foundation. He's got to have some faith.
Very true.
Yeah. And definitely a drive. And so he's grabbed us all to be a part of that and what, in some extent or another. And that's really cool. And that's why I love to do this, this kind of work, this podcast is to bring, we bring 2 or 3 people in each time we do a session. And it's just great to hear the different focuses, the different areas, different walks of life that all, we all are in that same kind of boat that come on here and talk about, anything from farming to teaching. The people that come together, it's just great to hear the passion and the interest that people have. And it's encouraging to see that out there. Cause if you don't do this kind of thing and you don't get the message out, a lot of times people don't recognize it. So it's so important to do this kind of outreach, I think.
No, I agree.
That's great. Is there anything else you'd like to hit on? Did we get what did we cover your story?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the time, and I just whoever's listening, I'd like to encourage them to stay with it. It's not always easy, but the end reward to know that whether you're farming or from a farming perspective is to know that we're feeding the world, and I don't know where my product ends up, and that's kind of cool to think about.
Right.
But
yep.
And to the general public that's out there listening, that thank a farmer because you're clothed and you're fed. So,
absolutely. Well, I was going to ask you if you wanted to leave any final thoughts or words, but I can't think of anything that would be better than what you said right there. So you nailed it. That's awesome.
See, I knew what you were going to say. So.
You knew I was going to say because you've done a lot of podcasts before, probably more than I have.
Oh, well, good luck with the election.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you, everybody, again for watching. Thanks to Mr. Steve Johnson for joining us on this podcast. Thanks, Brad, for helping co-host, and thanks to the Green Gene Foundation for putting these podcasts on. And we'll see you next time.